I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Paul Carenza for very kindly saving my mobile phone for me and then posting it back the other evening when I lost it in London. I'd like to apologise to the Angel Comedy Club for the countless times that I called you following that incident from strangers' phones, saying that I was 99.9% sure that I'd left it in your club. You were right and I was wrong, and I am very sorry. Did you take my phone, Paul? Did you steal my phone, and then when you were on your way home you had a mind attack or something and you just thought this is not right and then you posted it back to me? That's all I want to know. You are listening to the second part of my interview with very entertaining comedian Phil Reid. Here he is.
The ventriloquist mask. I did it. I bought it I've always, like I said to you before, I've always loved ventriloquism. Keith Harris, Orville. I mean, one of my biggest life highlights is when I was working on the holiday parks in 2007. I was in the Lake District, and every summer, because it's busy, because it's 6 weeks holidays, you always get big named acts, and we had Keith Harris that year. As soon as I seen that on the listing and I was going to be working with Keith Harris, I nearly lost my shit, because I was the presenter as well. So I was the front man, so he would be ringing me, he would be contacting me, and like I said to you before, when I was a kid and I'd watch Keith Harris, Orville and Cuddles on TV, and and then to be told, oh yeah, you'll be not managing him, but you'll be like working with him and making sure he's all right, and I was like, fucking mind blown. So I've always loved ventriloquism. That year I bought a puppet in 2007, and then I got a bonus. And I bought the mask because, again, ventriloquism's been one of those things that I've always loved, but I've never really had the confidence to do. But I bought the mask. It was sat in my drawer, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have to use it. I'm just gonna have to use it because of the way, it's a few £100 wasted. And I thought, yeah, I'll just buy it. I'll just bite the bullet and just try it. And it worked. But I know why it worked. Now when I look back on it, it worked because it'll always work. It's one of those situations because it's. If you can do ventriloquism, like I've been told lately, I mean, I did a gig last night and there was a comedian who said they thought I was a very, very good ventriloquist, which is a compliment because not everyone can do it. But it's one of those, if you can do it, it'll work. But then even if you can't do it, it'll still work. I mean, like Keith Lemon uses it on Celebrity Juice. And it's got to the point now where with the mask, it's quite nice because I'll use it if I think it's necessary, if that makes sense. So the first time I did it was 2013, like I said to you, when I was doing the few shows with Stephen Foster, because that was another thing that I thought, well, I could maybe pad my time out with that and try it with that. And I did it and it was working. I'd save it to the end, like when you've seen it in Eastbourne. Because if you do it at the end, it's such a big finish. But it's a big finish because it's one of those, no one's watching you, no one's watching me, and that's where you can get away with it. And that's why, when I'm being told that I'm a good ventriloquist, it means people are then taking the time to then look at me and go, is his lips moving, or are his lips moving or anything? And it's nice to then go, oh, okay, well, thanks very much for watching me. But it's one of those, 99% of the audience are never watching me. They'll watch the person who I get up on stage to see how they react.
Can you explain for anyone that hasn't come across the whole kind of idea of the mask thing, what that is?
Yeah, the ventriloquist mask, all it is, it's just a mask, like a mechanical mask that you put over someone's face, but it's just the mouth, and then you've got like a lever, like a wire and a lever that runs like over the back. So the mask will get like strapped. It's got a strap that goes over the head, and then the lever runs around the back, and then you just work the lever with your thumb, like down the back. Ron Lucas, if you Google Ron Lucas, he invented the mask back in the 80s. But that's what I mean. I mean, he done it in the 80s, and so many other acts do it now. I mean, it is a massive ventriloquist thing. Like, Steve Hewlett, Paul Zerdin, Nina Conti, Terry Fator, all those ventriloquists will use it because, Ron, but like I said, Ron Lucas invented it in the 80s, and it's one of those that I kind of did it to, like I said, to pad out my material, or to pad out my set, so I could say yeah, I've got 20 minutes, or yeah, I've got this, I've got that. And then it's just been one of those where, like, now some people would like just book me for the mask. Oh, can you bring the mask? And sometimes I always bring the mask with me, but I don't always necessarily like to use it.
When do you decide? When you're on stage?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'll decide when I'm on stage because I don't know, because I don't want to be known. I know every comedian needs a gimmick. So then, you know, like you know, you got like your character comedy, you know, their gimmick is their character, and you know, you have like your comedy magicians, their gimmick is the magic and stuff. But I don't want to be known because the mask isn't my idea. The mask isn't original. You know, it's not like I've gone, oh, this is a good idea. It's just one of those that I've taken someone else's gimmick and used it. But then I know for an audience, it'll always work. It'll always work. I mean, like last night I did it in a Chipping Norton, just outside Oxford, very posh. But it was in a town hall. So it was in a town hall in a little village, and they're the sorts of places where they love it because everyone knows everyone. So if you do it there, it's always going to win because it's, you know, you give them like a name and make them do like a dance or whatever.
Has anyone ever not, because you get people to dance or do silly things, is anyone ever
once.
unresponsive?
Once. Yeah, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. What I found as well, and this has happened a few times, and I work on a rule of three. I work on a rule of three where if it happens 3 times, then I won't do it again, or if I get a laugh 3 times, then I'll keep using it, if that makes sense. So a rule of 3, I think it's a standard comedy thing with people have always gone, oh, get my mate up, you know, he'll be really good. And I've done it, and the rule of and I've done it twice before, and they weren't, you know, because I think I've got good judgment call when I'm like watching the audience, and because you'll know when you're on stage, you're not, even though you're watching the audience and you're making it look spontaneous there and then, in your head you're like 3, 4, 5 steps ahead, and you know, and you're surveying the room and watching the audience and everything, and it's okay. And this guy come up to me. I was doing where was it? Just outside Bognor Regis somewhere. I was doing it. Some guy comes to me and he goes, oh, can you get my wife up on stage? He said, you know, we run the pub and all this and everything. And I was like, yeah. I said, well, he goes, oh, if you want to get me up, you know, and then we can do something, you know, good together. And I was like, yeah, no worries. It might, because I hadn't done the mask thing, because I was doing 2 halves, because it was more like a variety show with like music as well as myself, and I was like kind of like hosting compare as well as doing my comedy. And I thought, well, yeah, okay, well, I'll do the mask, spot on, you know. If he wants to volunteer himself, I imagine it'll be quite good. He came up and he was just, honest to God, it was just the worst. It was like, because I had nothing else to fall back on, because I'd done everything, the rest of the set had gone really well. Like when I did the first half, it went really well. I thought, well, I'll finish on the mask, and I did it, and he just crumbled it all, because then he was talking, he then just took the mask off, he then threw it at me, he then just walked off stage. And it's like, you know, I understand that if people don't want to do it, but what annoyed me more was he asked me.
So weird.
He said, can I come on stage? Yeah. And it was like he purposely asked to come on stage just to make me look stupid, if that makes sense. But then, because like he then left and went and like, you know, walked off, and was like, oh, you know, whatever, a bit of a abuse and all that. And I was just stood there, like left looking, because then I couldn't then get someone else up on stage because they've seen it. The initial thing with a mask is once you've seen it, oh, okay, here we go. But then once you start doing it, I can't then go, well, okay, well, he's just dropped it. Why don't you get up on stage? It's not funny. Doesn't matter now. Yeah, so he kind of like screwed me over. But then afterwards, the audience members were actually really supportive again, because it was like a little village thing. And they went, oh, I can't believe he got up on stage. We feel really sorry for you. As soon as he got up on stage, we knew he was, and I was like, oh, you tell me this now, after. You knew he was an arsehole. But I think the good thing for that is because they knew what he was like, the blame didn't really come back on me, if that makes sense. Because they knew he'd like ruined my act, or not my act, but he'd like ruined that bit. Yeah, I think that's where it was support, but then frustration as well, because it was more so, if I'd got someone up on stage and they acted like that, then that's my fault, that's my blame, that's my bad judgment call. But it was the fact that he asked me, can I come up on stage? Yeah, no worries, yeah, we can sort something out. Didn't tell him what it was, and then he just, so yeah, it only once is it ever gone like that. But, you know, 9 times out of 10, again, it's a whole like peer pressure thing. It's when you've got that many eyes looking at you and your friends and family, and they're all clapping along and laughing along and at what like you're doing, then they'll go with it. So when, you know, I mean, the singing, obviously they don't sing, I do the singing, but then like the dance, they'll then do the dance, because everyone's like, yeah, go on. And all they've got to do, a little bit of a shake, a little bit of a wobble, and that gets a massive round of applause. So it's...
Do you ever get sort of flashbacks to your first performance? If you do you get Mindlinks still, or have you moved past that?
No, I've moved well past that. Yeah. I moved past that when, as I say, when I went to the holiday parks, because I needed to, it was my, for comedy, my biggest drawback was getting mind blanks. But no, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still times where, like, I'll go, oh, I didn't say that joke, or I didn't say this joke, or, oh, you know, I messed up that punchline, or whichever. But I don't go, like, yeah, so I was walking down the street and, oh, this is awkward. I don't do that because, you know, it's not...
What gets you past that? Do you think it's just experience
waffle.
on stage?
Yeah, just waffle. Just because, I mean, like, when you've seen me... Because I think, again, this is where everything's all tied in together. Accidentally, but nicely. Like, as I say, I only went to go to the holiday parks to learn how to waffle and, you know, get over that fear of eyes looking at me. But then to have that experience then to then just, you know, oh, so where are you from? What's your name? And, you know, and just chat to him and just, I don't know. Because again, this is what I was saying, like, before, like, with school, I was never like the cool kid, but I was never like the loner. But I could always talk my way in and out of things. You know, I could talk my way into a fight as much as I could talk my way out of a fight. So I've always had that ability, but as I say, like the first few times when I was on stage doing comedy, because what you think you're saying and what you've written down is funny, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, this is funny, that's funny, and then you can't really go and waver. Whereas now I will. I mean, you know, I think it's good to have that ability now to, you know, just talk. And but the one thing I don't do is I don't take the piss, as in, like, I won't aggressively take the piss out of anyone. You know, like, I mean, not that it's not funny, but that's just not the sort of person that I am. So I wouldn't, like, necessarily do that. But yeah, I've definitely got over the fear of my mind blank and anything else.
So in 2013 you went on this tour.
Yeah.
Where did you go from there when you came back home?
2013, 2013 was when I went on that tour, but then 2013 I did it. It wasn't like a big tour, and it was at the time it was made to me a lot bigger than what it actually was, if that makes sense. To say, like, this guy Stephen Foster, who came and asked me, and I was like, yeah, tour, yeah, of course, yeah. And then, as it turns out, it was one of those, like, it was self-funded. So he'd go into venues and go, oh, you know, I do this show, and, you know, whichever, and, you know, but we sat down, we gave it a name, One Up, One Down, because he lived down south and I lived up north, so it was like, or he was from down south and I was from up north, so it was called, we came up with, like, loads of different names, and we decided on One Up, One Down, which we thought was quite catchy. But it wasn't like a massive tour all over. I mean, we did one in his hometown, we did one in my hometown, which went really well, because no one in my hometown, like in Ellesmere Port, had seen me do comedy, apart from the odd friends, the odd pockets of friends, like bits here, bits there, like the odd clubs around. But when I put a show on, or when I said, you know, I'm putting a show on, they were like, oh yeah, you know, and they all bought tickets for it, and it was a good night. But up until then, no one had seen it. But then the back end of 2013, like I said, with the my children's mum, the ex-girlfriend, me and her had like a massive altercation, and it got a little bit ugly, but it kind of cut me loose, because where she was in control of everything that I was doing, and if I'd say, oh, I'm going here for that, or there would always be an argument. The altercation that happened cut me loose, so there was none of that now. So I was then free to do what I wanted to do, right? Free to go, all right, well, do you know what? It's not your life, it's my life. I'm going to give it a crack. And I went and did it in 2014, and I worked with some iconic comedians for someone at my level at the time. Because as I say, I mean, I was still on and off with it very much so, but I managed to work with Lee Nelson twice, who, again, really, you know, inspiring to watch. But the biggest one, I got booked to do a support for Tim Vine. Tim Vine, I was like, because everyone knows Tim Vine, and, you know, everyone knows comedy, and it was like, oh, will you support Tim Vine? It wasn't on a theatre, but it was, you know, I was like, yeah, and blown away by it. And I remember going backstage, and he was going to be there, kind of like the Keith Harris thing, where I was like, oh my god, you know, I'm about to work with Keith Harris. It was exactly the same with Tim Vine. It's like, I'm about to work and meet Tim Vine. And I remember I walked backstage, and he was already there, because it was in Sutton, at Sutton Football Club, and he's an ambassador there, and everyone knows him, so it was sold out. And I remember I walked in, and he stood up and greeted me, and went, hi Phil, and I was like, hi, you know, hi Mr. Vine, and shook his hand. But in my head, I thought, you don't need to stand up, you're Tim Vine. You know, I'll come to you, don't come to me, I'll come to you. And it was admirable, the fact that he's still got that way about him. if you know, and he's such a gentleman, and you talk to him backstage. But then that was like my real taster of, you know, that side of the circuit, if that makes sense. In like, oh, okay. And then, you know, as I say, I went on and I did my bit, and I did the mask again, and it went well, as I say, because of the mask. But then, as I say, in 2014, I went for it, because I had no one holding me back. I had no ties, you know, like no like girlfriend nagging. And then I went in, did it, and I entered a competition called Joker of the Year. It was ran in Essex, and I won it. When with that came like a management deal, where they assign you like on a probationary period to see how you do, a management deal, and obviously a cash prize and everything. The title of, you know, I can now put on like posters or websites or whichever, like award-winning comedian. I don't, but I could do. And it's one of those where it's, from then, when I got the management deal and they were getting me like a lot of work, I thought, well, okay, well, I'll just take the plunge. So yeah, so it was quite nice to then go do it. But then it's so up and down. I mean, any comedian you speak to, it's like, it isn't what it used to be, or it's, you know, a bit up, down and everything. And I don't know, it's just, I think the biggest thing, and when I've read autobiographies, because I'm a massive autobiography reader, I don't like anything else, so 50 Shades, not read it. But autobiographies, not saying you have, by the way, just...
He was pointing and winking at me. Just
yeah. Yeah, I was just going back to judo. I thought, well, okay, you know. No, but then, yeah, with I remember Shane Ritchie. I remember reading his, fascinating, because again, he did the holiday parks before he went into showbiz and everything. And I remember reading his, and he was just saying that, you know, there'd be times where he'd sleep on a park bench, but he had that perseverance to just keep going and keep going. Doesn't matter how low you can go, because in my head, I think if you're at the bottom, like if you're sleeping on a park bench, then there's only one way for you to go, and that's up. Anything from a park bench up is a result. Whereas you get like so many like midsection comedians where they've never been up or down, but because they've never been down, they don't know how to go up. But then on the flip side of that, you get comedians that have been up at the top that come down, they then don't know how to handle the come down, and you see it all the time. It's just getting, and for me, it's, as I say, like perseverance to just crack on. I mean, I haven't, you know, I'm not, you know, TV wise yet. I'd like to be, but I think it's just having that support and that determination and ambition as well to just go, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep going. No matter what it takes, I'll do it. Because as I say, like you read it, you know, it's always everyone's been down and then up and everything, and then they end up on Live at the Apollo, or they get that big break and anything. So it's just one of those, and now it's still like trying to ride that out.
We spoke a little bit about your mask that you use, and it's great. It's so funny. But the stuff that you do, as you know, about your life, the kind of comedy that you do. Talk a bit about that, like you know, the style of it, I suppose. Yeah, the style.
See, I always get asked, like, I think one of the most annoying things, not annoying, probably the wrong word, but one of the things I always get asked that I think, is when they go, you know, so what style of comedian are you? I don't know, mate. I can't call the judgment on my style, if that makes sense, because it's not for me to say. I could say I'm observational, but then it could be a case of, well, no, I'm not observational, because I only ever really talk about stuff in my life. I don't go like, oh yeah, you know, have you seen that bus or anything? You know what I mean? It's not like, whereas like Lee Evans and Peter Kay are masters at it. But I'm not really like that. It's.
You found that you've done all that work in the holiday clubs. That really comes across in your presence and your ease with talking to the people in the audience. You know, when I saw you, I just thought, this guy must have been doing this for years, because it just seemed to come so naturally, and you're so quick with it all. It was just brilliant, really.
Oh, thanks very much. See, the thing is and that's where, like, I mean, if anyone asks, I've only really been doing this like full time since 2015. So this is where I sometimes get frustrated with myself, but then I also think I take a step back and go, you know, because everybody, if someone offers you, you know, like a TV deal now, whichever, no one's going to say no. Of course you're not. But then there's obviously that time of being ready as well. And then, you know, and then I look at it and then, you know, trying to progress rightly and climb the ladder, because I don't just want to be thrown up at the top and then learn how to come down. I want to climb up, and then, you know, obviously anyone that's, like I said, anyone up then comes down. But the holiday parks have helped me a lot. I mean, comedy wise, I've only been doing this for 2 years. 2014 was when I thought, right, I'll give it a crack, but I was still doing another job. All right, so 2015, and now we're just into 2017. I've actually not done too bad.
Sometimes comedians will say a joke and just get like scrutinised in the media for it, and then I'll go to a comedy club and I'll see a lot worse jokes being said, but they're kind of ignored, not really picked up on. Do you have an opinion on sort of what's acceptable, or whether there should be boundaries in comedy?
Yeah, I don't think there should be boundaries in comedy. I think it's comedy, and it's one of those. I think if you start putting boundaries on comedy, laughter is unexplainable. No one can tell you what makes you laugh. You laugh at something completely different than what I'd laugh at, and I'd laugh at something completely different than what you'd laugh at. Everyone's got different levels of humour, different types of humour. I think within reason, and I get what you're saying with the whole, like, if Michael McIntyre said something, he'd get scrutinised. Oh, you can't say that, you can't say, why? And I think that's because as soon as you're on TV, you're hitting a much wider audience, and people get offended so easy now. And what's annoying is people don't even get offended for themselves, they'll get offended for someone else. So I mean, like, obviously you're ginger, I'm ginger, but if did no one know that on the podcast, just to make you...
That's right. You dye my hair ginger. So
why would you do that?
I'm just really bad at dyeing my hair, it comes out differently, but I don't mind. I've got ginger aunties and they're lovely.
Okay. Well, they're lovely, like we're not going to be. Yeah, they're all right when
I've just done that thing, haven't I?
Yeah, when they come out at night, they're all right.
It subtly comes out that I actually see it's an underdog.
Yeah. No, it's all right.
Cut that bit out.
That's all right. No, but it's like, if Michael McIntyre said something, it's because you're hitting a much wider audience, and I think it's wrong. But then people get offended on behalf of other people, which I think is ridiculous. I remember I've had arguments. I mean, I was living with, I'll say it because I'm not racist in any way, but I was living with on my first season of the Holiday Park, I was living with a black lad, Simon, his name was, and we got on really well. We were like, we hit it off straight away. We'd have a laugh, we'd have a giggle. It was never awkward. And because we had that relationship, we'd do the whole, like, I'll say stereotypical, gangster black talk. And I remember we were just in a room, and he said something to me and I said something to him in our little gangster talk or whichever. I won't say what we said, but a girl stood up within the room and said to me that I was out of order. I couldn't have said that. Why have you said that? Why have you said that? That's disgusting. What? Why are you getting involved? Well, you can't say that. That's disgusting. We're having a conversation. This has nothing to do with you. This is between me and him. And it's like, if he'd got up and got, then that's a different kettle of fish. But I think, I don't have an opinion. I do have I think it's wrong that, but it's I don't think there should be any boundaries in comedy, because laughter, despite what anyone says, laughter is the best medicine. It's like, what, I don't know, you fall over and you trip up and you'll all laugh. If you're on a night out with the girls, or if I'm on a night out with the lads and one of you does something, it's like, oh yeah, it's a laugh, it's a giggle, and whichever. And I think, the whole laughing at someone's pain, I don't see it wrong, if that makes sense.
In some respects you have a small boundary in that you don't attack.
Yeah, personally attacking, that's what, yeah, I'm not that sort of comedian anyway. When you say you've seen me and you've said I've been at ease and everything, that's fine. I'll attack myself and I'll talk about stuff, about myself, and make the odd, because I go in, one of my beginning jokes that you've seen is I call myself a ginger prick, right at the beginning, because as soon as you do that, anyone that's willing to heckle is like, oh, he's already said it. I can't really say anything now because he's already said something. Okay, well, let's just crack on and listen. You know what I mean? So it's one of those, and I think I'd never go to someone in the front row, oh, well, you're this, you're that, whichever. But again, I'm not saying it's not funny, because, Frankie Boyle does it and he gets away with it because he's honed it and he's skilled it out, and it is, and when he does it, it's like, people watch Frankie Boyle now to see how far he can push it. They'll see how far he can push it, and then that's what makes them laugh, because it's like, oh, how far is he going to go? Whereas if I was to describe myself, I'd describe myself as a cheeky chappy. I'd like to say that I was approachable and maybe one of your mates up on stage. Again, I can only say that's how I'd like to come across. But then seeing me, I mean, you could see better or say better, oh yeah, that is how you come across, or no, that's not how you come across at all, whichever.
So, as a newcomer, what kind of advice could you give me? Sometimes I feel like Ali G.
No.
I don't know why. I just feel like salt anyway.
Yeah.
So, as a newcomer, what kind of advice would you give me?
I just think take the risks, and if I could tell myself now everything that I know, just be daring from the off. You know, don't worry about getting it wrong, because as a newbie, that is what you want. You know, that's what you're so scared of. It's like, well, if they don't laugh, then I'll be known as being shit, and if I'm shit, then, you know. And it is a fine balance, because you don't want it to knock your confidence, but you also need to have bulletproof skin, where it's like, well, actually, you know, I'll take it on the chin, or, you know. But then, as I say, when the first time I did it, I wobbled because of the whole 3.5 minutes thing and my mind going blank. I did wobble, and after that I wobbled, and then there was a couple of other incidences where I thought I was being funny, but I was trying too hard, and like, again, going back to the whole aggression thing. I remember I went on stage and they beat the Frog again in Manchester, and I lasted 10 seconds. Like, you're meant to go and survive 5 minutes, and I lasted 10 seconds because I went on and I went, give me a yeah, because they went, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Phil Reid. That's when I changed to Phil Reid, not Lingard. And they went, please welcome Phil Reid. And I went on stage and went, give me a yay. They went, yeah. I went, give me a whoa. They went, whoa. And I looked at some guy in the front row and I pointed at him and I went, give me a wank. Thinking that would be funny, because I thought, if they're going, yeah, they've done it. If I go, whoa, yeah, they've done it. And if I go, yeah, give me a wank, he'll go, yeah, I'll give you a wank. Right? In my head, that was funny. And that's what I'm saying where before. If you write a laugh, you're wrong for writing a laugh. Write what you think's funny and see where the laugh goes in. But I went, give me a wank. Nothing from no one. They all looked at me, and then it was the most awkward thing. And then the 3 cards straight away all went up, and it was like, oh, see ya. And I went in, no word of a lie, I was one of the first acts on, and I went and hid in the toilet until the interval, and then went, because I just couldn't, because I'd let myself down. And then when I look back on it now, I was far too aggressive, and that's again why, you know, like honing it back and going, yeah, I'm not that sort of comedian. That's not me. Even though it was one of the worst feelings I've ever had at the time, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had, because, you know, I look back and I learned so much from it. Surviving 10 seconds on a Gong show, and it's not a case of being funny for 5 minutes where you get like an open spot. You've got to survive 5 minutes. So you're either funny for 5 minutes or you're off, which, you know, sometimes for acts, I mean, obviously I was in Ellesmere Port, so it was only half an hour away, really.
You know, you might get voted off. That's putting yourself.
Yeah, but see, this is my argument, and this is where, because when I moved down to Brighton in 2009, I thought, well, you know, I'll try a few bits and see where I can go. And I started a Gong night called 7 Heaven. That's to survive 7 minutes and everything else. And it didn't work, because when I put it on Facebook, you know, I'm looking for acts for the abuse I got. Who do you think you are, bringing down Gong shows? You know, we're all right with our open spots and our open mic nights and everything. And it's like, hang on, you're missing the concept. Because again, when you're starting out, there's so many. When you get given a time allocation, when you get given 10 minutes, you've got to then do 10 minutes. Which, if you're not funny for that 10 minutes, it just becomes awkward for everyone, the comedian included, awkward as shit. Whereas if you've got to survive 10 minutes, then it kind of keeps you on your toes to be funny, if that makes sense. Because if you're not funny, they'll tell you, you're not funny, off you go, see you later, let's get the next one on. Which, this is my argument, I think as a comedian starting out, it's a great way to start. I don't think you should, I don't think there should be no Gong shows, because everyone's talking. I mean, King Gong, don't get me wrong, that in London, have you done it yet? No. That is brutal. Is it? Yeah.
That's not the one that lights go out?
At the Comedy Store. That's the one at the Comedy Store. Yeah. That is brutal. But no, it's but again, it's again having that tough skin, that bulletproof skin, to actually not be wobbled and just go, yeah, okay, well, it is what it is, you know. And then the whole like cliche of getting back on the horse and getting on and doing it again and again and again and again, you know, which is the way to do it. I mean, like, as I say, I wobbled, but then instead of carrying on the comedy stage, I then went on to the entertainment stage, and, you know, I'd do like which when I look at it now has helped me out so much more than probably doing comedy for however many years after and trying to do the comedy that way, because if it's something you want to do and something that you're so passionate about, it can break you so easy as well. But no, if I was to give myself any advice, just probably have been just more braver and like taking risks and it's like the whole journey, isn't it? I mean, I'm here where I am now, probably not giving up as well. As I say, I mean, I give up and I was in and out because of situations, and I'd let other situations get on top of me. You know, as I say, like the ex-girlfriend not being supportive and not wanting an argument, so it's like, right, okay, and I'd cancel gigs here, cancel gigs there, and that's the thing, is your reputation. It's so hard to build a reputation, but so easy to lose it. You can lose a reputation so easy, but it can take you months, years to build up a reputation, and then a couple of, you know, I'm not doing that gig, well, we'll never book you again, that's fine, and then you're on your arse then. So that's probably the only advice, is that I probably shouldn't have listened to other people so much, and I probably should have just done. And that's the weird thing is in 2013, 14, when I did that, as I say, when we had that altercation, she had no control over what I did. I'm now here, and I look at it and I go, that's a bit frustrating, because if I was doing that 2 years prior, or like in 2009 when I moved back, if I was doing that, who knows where I would have been, because then technically I would have been 5 years on and not 2 years on, or I would have been 7 years on, not 3 years on. But you know, it is what it is.
Thank you so much for coming and joining me and talking to me today. It's been really interesting.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
I hope you have a good show tonight. I'm going to come see it.
Yeah. I'll,
Looking forward to it.
I will see you tonight then.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil Reid. Hooray! That was Phil Reid. I love doing these interviews. I love finding out about people. It's so interesting, about comedians and how they do their comedy. You can follow Phil Reid on Twitter at Phil Reid Comedy. You can also like and follow him at Phil Reid Comedy on Facebook. And he also has a website, which is www.philreidcomedy.com/. And I love you guys for listening. Thank you so much. I don't have anyone else to introduce because I have a couple of comedians in mind next, and we're already in talks about it, but we haven't actually solidified a date to do the interview. So I'm not going to advertise. That's what I'm saying. You know, sometimes not just comedians, anyone will put out to the world, I love you guys, I love you, and they don't mean it. Or they don't fully mean it. Or some of them mean it, not all of them. I really mean it. I love you. I do. You're annoying on public transport, but apart from that, I love you guys. So thanks so much for listening, and please listen again.
Sweaters, a coat, I can't keep my heat on. I got nothing